Welcome to Rewired for Love. I am your host, JaCarie Owens, licensed mental health counselor, EMDR basic training coach and consultant, group practice owner and supervisor at Courageous Minds Counseling, relational trauma expert, and the most important one, your honest but loving homegirl therapist who's not afraid to talk about the messy parts of healing. Around here, we talk about all things nobody taught us growing up, how our attachment styles show up in love, why our nervous system acts like a fool sometimes, and what it really takes to feel safe in our bodies. So this is not about perfection. It's about learning to love yourself in real time with grace, boundaries, and a little bit of humor. So take a deep breath. Get comfy, because we don't chase chaos, we choose calm. And this is Rewired for Love. Hey y'all, welcome back to Rewired for Love. Today's episode is going to sit heavy in a tender place. We're talking about avoidant attachment, the kind of attachment style that often hides in plain sight. Because avoidant folks, they look fine. They look put together. They look completely unbothered. They look like they're floating through relationships untouched. But under that calm exterior is a nervous system that learned a long time ago, I have to take care of myself because no one else will. And to help us explore this, we're going to again pull some powerful insight from Natalie G's book, The Pain We Carry, which is a deep look into complex trauma in marginalized communities and how our bodies learn to shut down as protection. So get comfortable, maybe sip you some tea, and let's talk about why you run, why you shut down, and more importantly, how you can stop abandoning yourself in the process. This episode is for the independent ones. That's right, my independent ones. The ones who shut down instead of opening up. The ones who love deeply but struggle to show it. The ones whose protection looks like control. We're talking about avoidant attachment and how what looks like distance is often a sign of old pain. So avoidant attachment gets mislabeled all the time. When people think of avoidant attachment, they say things like, they're just distant. They don't like intimacy. They're cold. They don't need anybody. And the reality is that's absolutely not true. Avoidant attachment isn't the absence of need. It's the management of need. Avoidant attachment says, the people I depended on didn't show up. So it's safer not to depend at all. And this is where the pain we carry gives us such a real, grounded understanding of what this looks like for brown and black folks. So in the pain we carry, Natalie talks about how trauma, especially complex trauma, leads to emotional numbness, self-reliance, and shutting down vulnerability as a survival strategy. She describes how many of us grew up in environments where our caregivers were overwhelmed or unavailable. Emotions weren't safe to express. And it was praised survival over softness. And the reality was, for most of us, asking for help got you shamed, dismissed, or ignored because you was too emotional and too sensitive. So your body learned needing people is dangerous. Rely on yourself. Don't get too close. Don't get too deep. And that's avoidant attachment in the nutshell. Avoidant attachment carries a wound so old, it stops feeling like a wound, and it starts feeling like a personality. So let's get real for a minute. Let me paint you a picture. Avoidant attachment looks like pulling away when someone gets too close, feeling overwhelmed by emotional conversations, needing more space than the people around you understand, shutting down instead of arguing, disappearing emotionally, even when staying physically present, feeling smothered by closeness, being more productive than connected, feeling safest when you're alone, staying in control by not depending on anyone, loving deeply, but showing it quietly and indirectly. So when you think of these things, this is how PTSD shows up as an emotional withdrawal, dissociation, and doing everything yourself because you've always had to. So from our avoidant folks, the shutdown is not rejection, it's protection. And if you grew up in a home where tenderness was rare, where no one checked in on your feelings, where affection felt foreign or inconsistent, your body learned, don't get too attached, don't be too open, don't show no signs of emotions, because they can't hurt you if they can't reach you. This isn't you being cold, this is you being wounded. So I want to paint a picture of someone to be able to better understand avoidant attachment. So let's call him Marcus, right? Marcus grew up the oldest boy in a single parent household. His mom loved him deeply, but she was always exhausted. She was working 2 jobs, dealing with racism at work, financial stress, and her own trauma. Emotional conversations didn't happen, and if Marcus cried, he was told to stop. We don't have time for that. If he needed something, the answer was often figure it out. He learned early that the safest way to get through life was to stay self-contained. So now we're going to fast forward to adulthood. Marcus dates, but he keeps people at an arm's length. When a partner says, "Hey, I feel like you're being distant," he freezes. When someone wants deeper intimacy, Marcus gets overwhelmed and shuts down. When conflict happens, he disappears. Not because he doesn't care, but because his body goes into survival mode. In The Pain We Carry, Natalie talks about this beautifully, how avoidant behaviors are not emotionally laziness, they're trauma responses shaped in emotional abandonment, in racial stress, and in survival demands. And Marcus looks independent, but he's carrying a wound so deep he doesn't even feel it anymore. Avoidant attachment is a nervous system pattern. Your body learned to protect you through your dorsal vagal shutdown, which is numbing, minimizing emotions, deactivating attachment, hyper independence, and avoiding vulnerability because it never felt safe. In The Pain We Carry, Natalie also shares how marginalized individuals often develop what she calls adaptive emotional distancing, the body's way of coping with pain it had no power to change. So, avoidant folks in these cases learn to stay small, stay quiet, stay controlled, stay self contained, ultimately because love felt unpredictable and unpredictability felt dangerous. So, I want to talk about what avoidant partners actually feel but rarely say out loud. So, listen, avoidant folks love just as deeply as anyone else. They just feel safer loving you from a slight distance. If avoidant attachment could talk, it might say, "I care about you more than I know how to show." It may also say, "Please don't ask me to open up faster than my body can handle." Another thing it may also say, "I pull away because I'm scared you'll see how much I actually need you." Feel familiar yet? Or they may also say, "I want closeness, but it overwhelms me. I don't reject you. I'm trying to protect myself." And what this reminds us is that trauma often teaches us to disconnect from ourselves first, long before we disconnect from others. If you learned early on that no one was coming, closeness doesn't even feel like comfort. It feels like a risk. But here's the good news. Avoidant attachment can heal. Even if shutting down has been your go-to for 20, 30, even 40 years, healing avoidant attachment isn't about suddenly becoming an open book. It's about gently increasing your capacity for closeness. And so let's talk about 3 powerful healing steps to get you into a more secure attachment. The first one is reconnecting with your body. Avoidant attachment lives in the body, and it lives in the body as disconnect. So you might be present, but you're numb. So when we're talking about grounding practices, it's about feeling your breath in your belly. It may be that you're placing your hand on your chest or noticing where body tightness happens when intimacy come up. Or it may be that you're sitting with an emotion for 10 seconds longer than normal. And what you're doing is you're reconnecting with your body, and it helps to build your tolerance for that connection without shutting down. And that is ultimately what you need. You need to learn what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, to be able to challenge that. Number 2 is allowing emotional tenderness. Little by little, though. So avoidant folks need micro moments of vulnerability, not deep dives, not heart on the table immediately, just small, tolerable steps. And this may feel like naming one feeling a day, sharing something meaningful without deflecting, or letting someone support you even when you could handle it alone. It may be that you practice saying things like, "Can I think about that and get back to you?" Because ultimately, healing is expanding your window of tolerance for closeness. And the third powerful step is challenging the shame of needing people. I need you to sit with this one. That's why I made it number 3. Because avoidant attachment is soaked in shame. It's the I shouldn't need anyone. It's the dependent on others is weakness. It's the I'm only lovable when I am strong. But really, I want to encourage you to have deep compassion towards those beliefs because they protected you when you needed them when you were young. So they're not bad. You just no longer need them. Replacing shame with compassion, it will sound more like, it makes sense I struggle with closeness. This pattern kept me safe. Needing connection is a human experience, not a burden. Or it may sound like, I deserve relationships where I don't have to hide. If it feels okay, I want to guide you into a short practice inspired by the Pain We Carry book. So I want you to take a moment and take a slow breath. Imagine the younger version of you, the you who learned to stay small, stay quiet, and stay strong. Notice how they stand. Notice what they're bracing against. Notice the tension they hold. Now imagine standing behind them, older, wiser, stronger, more resourced you. Gently place your hand on their shoulder and whisper, "You don't have to do everything alone now. It's safe to let people in slowly. You get to rest now, and you're not a burden." Let yourself breathe into that image. That is the beginning of healing. What we are understanding in this episode is that avoidant attachment isn't you being cold. It's you being protective. It's the armor you built when closeness was confusing or painful. It's the nervous system that learned early on that if I want to survive, I need to rely only on myself. But survival is not the same as connection. And you deserve connection without abandoning yourself, without shutting down, without pretending you don't feel things deeply. Healing avoidant attachment is about learning how to let others come close without losing the safety you built for yourself. And that is possible. You can have love that feels steady, safe, reciprocal, without the shutdown, without the distance, without the fear of being seen. So I want to thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for your honesty within yourself, your courage, and your willingness to do this work for your younger self. Work your younger self never even knew was possible. And if today's episode resonated, make sure you follow the show. Share it with someone who needs it, and join me the next time for the next step in the attachment series. And until then, be gentle with your heart. It's been carrying a lot. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rewired for Love. If today's conversation resonated with you, share with someone you care about, or take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps this community to grow and keeps these healing conversations flowing. You can also follow me and come hang out with me on all socials, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of them at Rewired for Love Podcast. Go there to get your daily doses of healing, honesty, and a whole lot of love. Until next time, keep listening to your body, lead with compassion, and remember, you are safe enough to love and be loved.